Huck is on a raft with, I can't remember the woman's name, some woman in town, her slave, Jim. And Jim is trying to escape to freedom. And Huck, because he likes or even loves Jim, is helping Jim to escape. But his conscience is bothering him. He feels he is stealing what does not belong to him. Because in the culture in which Huck lived, Jim was somebody's property, and to help Jim to escape was to steal what belonged to somebody else. So what Jonathan Bennett does is he draws a contrast between Huck's feelings, his caring for Jim, and his morality, which tells him that what he's doing is theft. Now, we all learned that. That wasn't among Chris's, I'm sorry, I don't know what, I don't let anybody call me anything but Paul, but although I guess you did, didn't you? But in any event, that theft was not among the universal things that all cultures say are wrong, but at least we think, I guess, it's wrong, don't we? And he does quote my own book against me, and I'll have to come back to that. So, for the difference seems to be, Huck thought that a human being could be someone's property. We don't believe that. We don't believe human beings, and of course in our culture, in our society, they're not property. What I'd like to do next, so what I want to come next to is the quotes from my book, right? We think it wrong, which is in my book, and I'll talk a little bit now about myself. I wrote in the book, I guess, we think it wrong that the best educational opportunities should go to white children from advantaged families, right? Is it true in our society that in general the best educational opportunities go to more affluent white children? Yes. Is that true? Yes. It is true. Yes. I think it's wrong. Which means what? I would say that I have amorality. Let me ask you this. Does the majority of Americans think it wrong that the best educational opportunities go to parents who can afford to advantage their children, and in our culture they happen to be disproportionately white? Do most Americans think that's wrong? I would think that they don't think that's wrong. But I do. All that means is that I have a morality. That's my morality. Professor Firestone skipped a sentence after I say we think this. There's something in parentheses that say I'm assuming a common moral judgment between me and my reader. I'm not assuming that everybody in the universe agrees with what I'm saying. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you think it right that white people be privileged because they're white and advantaged, then don't read this book. Not for you, right? Because I can't even get started with you. I can only get started with people who share some of my judgments. Some of you have seen my little thing I threw together. Some of you. So what I did, people are pulling it out. The title of it is Morality is Relative. What's the rest of it? Not everything is relative. And when he introduced me, Calhoun went off of an old Chicago State website which said I've been a communist for 32 years. But, you know, that's old now. I guess it's been 37 years or something like that. In any event, Do I have practical commitments? Well, I've gotten hurt fighting against racist skinheads in the Ku Klux Klan, so I must have some beliefs, right? I get arrested, so I must have some beliefs, right? And I will make judgments about people's morality. Those of you who read my little piece know how much time I have.
4 minutes.
4 minutes? 4, cool. Know that I start with, and some of you probably thought about this, I hope you discussed it in your classes, with the story of the beating to death of Darian Albert, right? And I bet almost everybody in this audience has thought at least a little bit about what happened. And the point I make in the paper is that the young people who were engaged in that fight are being called animals, and right? Yet, the judgment I make there is they're not that different from any of us, right? They're in a different situation and setting where they do things. Now, that is not meant to say that I, making my judgments, think that what happened to Darian Albert is forgivable or not horrible or something like that. I think it's a terrible, awful thing, but I would condemn the society, the school system, put the Board of Education that turned Carver into a military academy, told the kids in Oakdale, you have to go across town to Fenger. It's responsible for Darian Albert's death just as much as those children, they are children, that hit him upside the head with a board. Right? I make judgments. How do I make judgments if I don't believe, and I have a morality, but if you have a different morality from me, I don't preach at you. Man, you wrong. I just don't do that. I try to figure out how to get inside somebody's head in terms of what they think and what they believe. And in particular, what I ask people to think about is, does the way you're living make your life go better for you? Now, to me, that's not a matter of morality. That's a matter of fact, right? That's a matter that we can figure out by studying the way the world is. Moralities are relative, but whether young black males are graduating from Chicago public high schools at a rate of 39% or possibly less is a matter of fact.
30 seconds.
What happens to those young people if they do not graduate from high school is a matter of fact.
Yes.
Whether human society would be better if we totally changed it and made it so we're not separating children into winners and losers, but rather we all shared all labor is a question, it's a difficult question, but it's a question of fact, not of morality. What I propose in my book, think about this. After we leave this room, I hope none of you will do this, some of you may leave behind some trash for somebody to pick it up after you, right? Well, suppose all of us had to pick up the trash. And we didn't divide children into trash collectors and doctors, but instead doctors changed bedpans and doctors swept floors. We shared the crappy labor so that everybody did it.
Yeah.
Then we could create opportunity for everybody. I'm a communist. I think that would be a better society. That's not a moral argument.